Hello, Future Tribe. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. On this week's episode, we've got Pip Rasmussen, who's a TV presenter with ABC Me and does a little bit of radio with Triple J. But we're going to get into it very soon because I've talked to her before and it sounds like she does more than just a little bit of radio. But how are you today, Pip?
I'm really good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Tell me a bit about ABC Me, Triple J, and for anyone listening from out of Australia, they're both sort of state-funded TV and radio and entertainment sort of sources. So Pip's really, out there helping us all.
Yeah, so ABC is kind of like what's the equivalent in America? NPR and like BBC in the UK. So government funded. We're always getting undercut by the government. Thanks, guys. But yeah, we're powering through with like lots of kids content on ABC Me, which is our kids channel, which is sort of our age demographic of like can be like as young as 6, but it's mostly like 8 to 14. That can kind of go over that as well around the 16 age. But yeah, that's kind of it, like 7 to 8 to 14. And I've been presenting on there for 4 years, which is insane. Moved down to do that, which was very exciting, like moving to a new city and doing a whole new job. I'd never done TV before, so it was pretty nerve-wracking. But yeah, I have a history with doing radio as well. I did a lot of community radio, like just after high school during uni. That's kind of how I found myself in TV, actually, kind of by accident.
Right. But let's wind it all the way back. Actually, before that, let's say, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you right now?
Right now?
Age. Yeah.
26 years old.
26 years old right now. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like a 20-year-old or 18-year-old actually, like in my head.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like I'm surrounded by young people all the time. During work, like with doing TV for kids, like it's literally like you are making like the most absurd jokes. There's lots of fart jokes going around, but also you just get to do like the funnest, most ridiculous things, like getting like slimed at the end of an episode because you lost a challenge. Like what normal job like ever does that?
Yeah, so, that's crazy. I mean,
feel very young at heart.
That's good though, right? Do you
it's
think
the best?
Do you think you could be 35 and do that?
Probably not.
I think
I definitely think there's an expiry, but
yes.
No, I feel like I could do it. I feel like I could do it for a few more years.
Yeah. That's awesome though. But let's rewind. So you're 26 now. What did you do coming out of school, or so coming out of school, was that when you started sort of tapping into the entertainment stuff, would you say?
Yeah, kind of. Like during school I was very into like drama and did like extracurricular drama club stuff on the side and always really liked that. And then I went to uni. I went to Macquarie Uni and I did a Bachelor of Media, which was just like a pretty standard like 3-year degree. And during that time I did like creative writing and radio as like my specialist stuff. And I did like a lot of community radio as well during that time with FBI, which is like a community radio in Sydney that like is the main like big one that is just like a massive like push of like culture and new music and really like
so the biggest one that's not like commercial radio, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's like when you think of community radio in Sydney, you think of FBI. When you're in Melbourne, you think of like 3RRR or like SYN. So I did that. And I found that I just really enjoyed presenting. I always really like on radio. Yeah. I really loved like talking to people. I loved like doing interviews and I loved doing, I did like a lot of actually creative stuff, like, cause I was sort of like a presenter on like a podcast as well, where we would like do like storytelling podcasts. So during that time I was like listening to heaps of podcasts and like making my own. And like with uni as well, I was getting those like technical skills up and doing heaps of assignments and like learning how to like piece together like really like awesome storytelling radio. So yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I found my way.
Right. But then is community radio like a paid job? Are there paid jobs within it? Is it all volunteer? What is a community radio, like what does a community really mean?
Well, there are a few paid jobs in it. I was volunteer with like most of the people who worked there. So basically like all the like the on-air roles, but also lots of off-air roles like producing, manning the front desk, like reception, like I did that a bunch. Some other stuff like some music like organization and like programming and stuff, like some of those roles were like unpaid, but then there were like, you know, like about, I think at the time maybe like 6 or 7 people who really did like run the station. They were paid, and they got paid through like sponsorship, like grants and stuff. And like every year like FBI has to like really hustle to get people to like, you know, sponsor them, and like, you know, people like us to pay for a subscription. So that's how that ran. And like those kind of roles that were paid, you know, that was like the main music director, like the program director who like organizes all the content, and like the direction, like the marketing people, the design people. And I think I forget the name of it, but the person who's basically like running the whole station.
Like the CEO sort of person.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, so they're paid roles.
Yes.
But like, you know, they're people who like had been doing it for years, and I was just like all my other peers in my little FBI cohort, like I was just a young gun who was just like, yes, I'll work for free, like I just want to be on radio, oh my gosh. Like,
right.
yeah.
So was that
was
your
fun.
sort of, was it that experience that was a driving force there? Because a lot of people don't want to work for free. I think that's fair to say. But, you know, obviously you had something that drove you to want to work for free because there was a value transfer that you felt like was worth it. What was that? What was the reason there?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of things. I think like the driving force for me to want to be there and do that was because, one, it was such a hub of culture, and like just really cool artists were coming in all the time, and it's such a good like step into that world if you're into music. Two, like if you want to do radio, you just have to do free work. Like there's no way around it. Like it's like, it's kind of like you just pay your dues, like you're doing it, and like it's such a welcoming, fun environment, and people are like all learning, and it's really like collaborative and like lovely to be around the same like-minded people who just want to make good content. So that was also a driving factor, because it was just like I have to do this. Like, well, this is my stepping stone, like into other jobs.
You can't just take the job on without that experience, and this is sort of that age-old thing about that comes up, right? That employers want people with experience, but they're not willing to, you know, hire someone without experience to get that. It's that sort of catch there. But I guess you just sort of sought out this opportunity that let you, as a volunteer, you would have felt like you didn't need to necessarily turn up and know every single thing. Obviously you had the background, so that probably helped. But I guess you just saw it as that I can just get value out of this that helps me moving forward. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, just being in the building was like an opportunity where you would just find things. And when people like notice you, if you are doing good at something, or if you just put your hand up for things and just be like, hey, I've got free time, like I can help out. And like, that's the spirit of community radio. Like you're all just there, like trying to help each other out. But it's also such a valuable learning place and community, and also a valuable opportunity just to get your foot in the right door. And yeah, it's also like there are some people there who just do it because they like literally love music and they don't want a job out of it, and they're just like really,
they just
like
love
there was some
being
like
that person and being
totally
within that role and enabling that for everyone who listens and everyone who experiences what you guys are putting out there.
Exactly.
So like,
and they were
doing
the
it for the passion
people
of
who
it.
Yeah, exactly. They were the people who had been there for like many, many years, like just had a show for like more than 10 years or something.
Wow.
And they were just like, they were like the legends of the sort of the station.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like the young gun who was like so hungry for like, you know, experience and to meet people. Like it was so fun. Like I still have like pretty good mates from there. So yeah, it was a really fun experience.
So what happened next? Like, was your next move then to go and apply for a paid gig and get one, or how long did you do the community stuff before, you know, you took that next step in what you want to do?
I can't remember how many years I was there. I feel like I was there for a short-ish time, because how many years was it? Man, I can't even remember. I want to say like 2 to 3 years.
Like were you like 19, 20 or?
Yeah, I was like 20. I was in uni, and I think I was like about 19 or 20, and I think I
Mm-hmm.
was there for like maybe 2 years. And wait, what was the question?
It was actually, did I forget the question as well? It was when, okay,
You're like,
yeah,
how
yeah.
did you get
What
from
was that
your
next
point?
step?
Yeah.
What was that next step? Like, what happened?
Okay, so what happened was I was working, I was volunteering there for like 2 to 3 years, doing different things, moving around a little bit, and then I one of my program director at the time, Caroline Gates, who is a legend, saw this thing come through on like an email being like, hey, ABC 3 at the time, it's now me, looking for presenters, and they're just doing an open call, like an open cast to like the whole country. She was like, I think you should do this. And I was like, okay, yeah, I will. And then I made a video, and then I sent it in as like my self-tape, my audition.
Mm-hmm.
And then they really liked it. And then they flew me down to Melbourne to audition in person. And then I didn't get it. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. That was fine. I had such a fun time. I literally could not believe that someone flew me to do like a job. I was like, what
So
the
your
hell? Like, that's
expectations were
never happened.
fairly low in terms of outcomes as well, would you say, at the time?
Kind of, yeah. Like, I wasn't expecting it, and I'd never done TV, and I just
Yeah.
like, I just was just like, whatever, yeah, this is fun, I'll do it. And I was working at Pumpkin Patch at the time, and I remember like telling my workmates and being like, ha, like, I'm going to Melbourne, woo,
Yeah.
see you suckers. But then I was back, and I was like, I
Hello.
didn't get the job. But
But what
yeah,
happened
no,
there?
it was crazy. It was crazy. So I went down, I auditioned, they really liked me, but they were like, yeah, you're really great, let's keep you on file, and we'll go with some of the other people. And it was fine. Came back, did more FBI stuff, and then I got a job at like a digital marketing agency, and I worked there for like 9 months. And then that wasn't right for me, and we went our separate ways. And then I got a foot in the door at Triple J as a receptionist. And that was because I heard that they were hiring like internally. And at the time, like, I was fortunate enough that like my dad was working at ABC, and he was like, hey, they're looking for a receptionist for like 3 months. And I was like, oh yes, like, oh my goodness, this is like my dream to work at Triple J. Like, I want to be in there. I don't care
And you didn't
how. I'll
care
be a
that it was a
janitor.
receptionist.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
You
no,
just wanted to
totally.
get in
So I
that
was just,
building. I guess,
totally,
and
yeah.
going off what you'd seen with community radio, you just knew that that same atmosphere or the same rules sort of applied at Triple J, in the sense that if you were in the building, you were sort of in amongst it. So you
Yeah.
just knew that you just needed that foot in the door.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that was it. And that was like a massive opportunity, even though it was just a reception job. But I loved it. Like, I turned up every day. I was like the happiest person there. Like, people would come in, I'd be like, oh, how you going, Alex Dyson? Like, oh, what a great day to be alive. Like, it was like when Matt and Alex were on. So it was just so great. And I was there for 3 months. And it was just like a cover thing.
Yeah.
And then it was coming up to the end of the 3 months. And it had been like I think it had been like a year or like maybe 2 years after I had auditioned first for ABC 3. And I was like, oh man, I'm about to be unemployed again. Okay, great. What am I going to do? So
How
then
old were you now? Like, are we 22-ish?
Okay, so if I went down in 2016, I must have been, yeah, like 22. You're better at this timeline and age thing than me. Like, I literally need a map. Like, I have no idea. My life is just blurred.
I'm just guessing and throwing numbers out there. So you're 22, you're about to be unemployed. You've done like a 3-month cover, you know, when someone's on mat leave or something. And
something like that, yeah.
What are you doing now? So it's been about 2 years since ABC Me, and
yeah,
sort
I
of
think it was like, I think I
attempt.
first auditioned in like 2014. So I think you're right. I think it was 2 years. So I was about to be unemployed, and I was just like, screw it. Like, I will email this lady who I met on that audition. She was like the executive producer of the whole channel. And I was like, all right, cool. Send an email. Was like, hey, how are you guys going? I'm good. Also looking for work. Do you want to audition tape? Do you want to self-tape? Like, is anything going?
Yeah.
Love to hear from you. See you later. Bye. And then she got back to me like strangely quickly and was like, actually, we are looking for new presenters. Why don't you send something through? And I was like, oh my gosh,
Wow.
yes. And so then I did. And then I got a call and I was like, I remember where I was. I was like at the reception desk, like just chilling, doing my job. And then I got a call from this lovely EP, Jan Stradling, who was EP at the time, not anymore. But like, she was just like, yo, like, we'd love you to come down and audition. So I did. And then they flew me down again. And I did that whole thing. That was really fun. And then I went back and then I got a call again while I was at work. And she was like, yeah, we'd love you to come to Melbourne and work
like you've got
full-time.
the job.
Like you've got it. And I was literally like, man, like I can't tell you the elation that I had from that phone call. Like, you know, one of those phone calls that you're like, low-key may have changed my life. Like, majorly.
Like this has changed the trajectory of everything that I had in front of me.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because I did not, like, I was not trained in TV at all. Like, I knew radio stuff. I didn't do like YouTube videos. Like, I was just like, I don't know, like what sold it for them, but I was just like, oh my goodness, like I can't believe this is happening. Like I'm gonna work in TV. How do I even like? I don't
like what do I do?
Yeah.
Like what you know? Do you turn up with the makeup done, ready to go, or do you turn up and do they do all that to you? Like who picks the outfits? These actual questions that I have for you. Who does all that stuff?
I would tell you actually a funny story. Like this is a little value add. Like I was so unaware of like how kids TV like worked and the etiquette that when I turned up for this audition in 2016, I was wearing, I was like, I'm dressed so cool. Like, yeah, they're going to love this. I was wearing this top, which I thought was hilarious because it was a Daria top, like the show Daria, which used to be massive on ABC3. For people who maybe don't watch this, like this is like an iconic show. I think it's from Canada. So if you're international, you probably know Daria.
Yeah, Daria is international,
Yeah. So yeah, I was wearing this top, except it was like kind of like a weird off-cut design, and she was like smoking a cigarette, and they were like, "Yeah, we really can't like audition you with this top. She's smoking a cigarette," and I was literally like,
"Oh, it's a kids show."
Oh, that was so funny.
So what happened then? Did they just
ridiculous.
give you like a different top or something? Like
I was wearing like a shirt, like a flanny, so they were just like, just button it up. It's all good. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I just totally didn't even realize. But anyway, so yeah, so the question is like, how do people dress you? What do you do? Do you
like what happens there? Out of interest.
For the audition or for the actual job?
For the actual job, like, do you turn up every day ready to go, or do you turn up and sort of they get you ready to go? How does?
Well, on a normal shooting day, when you go to studio, like you will go to makeup really early. They'll make you up, and then you have a little bit of time to go through your wardrobe, which, you know, like the clothes that they've bought for you, but you obviously like you're there when they purchase them and stuff. So you like, yeah, I like this or I like that, and they kind of somewhat form an image of like you, like, but a more exaggerated. So like my kind of thing is like, well, I'm kind of like enjoy a little bit of like gothic emo kind of side of me. So that's kind of like, you know, we'll put you in plaid and stuff like that. So that's fun. And then you do that and then you go down to set. But like, you know, recently filming during isolation, very different. I do my own hair and makeup. Like I, you know, dress myself with my clothes in my house, which is fine because like of years of doing TV and especially working for ABC where you can't advertise and you can't endorse any brands. So yeah, like doing that, like it's fine because I've had years of experience of making sure whatever clothes I buy, like I never buy like clothing with a brand on it because I'm like, oh, I might want to wear this on TV, and like so
and I can't if it's got a brand on it.
Exactly. So yeah,
because
that's how it kind of goes.
Because we're talking right now, sort of, I mean, what looks like is the tail end of the whole COVID-19 thing. Just to give everyone context. And so you guys have been filming from home. Is that sort of how it's looking at the moment? Because you can't. But does that mean that do you know if like ABC in general aren't producing shows like in studios at the moment, or is it just select things that have gone to the individual creators?
Well, for us, we're completely isolated at home, no producers here. It's all like a video chat call, like what we're doing kind of thing. But there are some shows that are filming in studio. The Weekly, I believe, is filming at the moment. And
That's
they
sort of
have to be
news,
released.
isn't it?
Yeah, with Charlie
Yeah.
Pickering. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
news kind of fun show, parody-ish. But yeah, they're doing like very strict like 1.5 meter rules. I
Mhm.
personally don't know how that works with makeup. I'm like, how do
Yeah.
you do that? Perhaps the hosts and the talent are doing their own makeup. That would be a way to get around that for sure. But if you're in a big enough studio, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I mean,
Mhm.
it does make it not for great TV in a way, because you can't be close to
Well,
someone if you're
there's no
like
personal
interviewing them.
connection. Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah,
start to
I
sort
think
of
it's all just
at distance.
cheated with camera angles so it doesn't look
Right.
awkward. But like,
Yeah.
I reckon at the time you'd be like, so Charlie, how's like
Yeah, yeah,
it'd be
yeah.
kind of
It could be a
weird.
bit weird. Um,
Yeah, but
so
yeah, where, oh yeah, you go.
I was just gonna say, you get into this, you get into ABC Me, so you get the gig, um,
Hmm.
and so you still work for ABC as well at the moment, and
Hmm.
you're doing Triple J on the side, sort of, um, at the moment as well.
That's right. So sort of I have a regular slot with my mate Eli, who's my co-host. And we regularly sort of do an all-nighter or a graveyard shift that
Mm-hmm.
goes on a Friday morning from 1 till 6 a.m. And yeah, it's pretty brutal, but we do really love it. We have a lot of fun. And we've been having a really great time because we've been getting some weekend Arvo shifts, which is sort of like Saturday 2 till 6 and then Sunday 2 till 5. And
Nice.
that's such a fun time slot. Like, everyone is so chill. We
Uh-huh.
get to have like a bit of talk back and like talk about our like personal lives and what's going on and have a bit of a laugh. And it's great. Like, we've been really loving it. So we've been doing that as well. We've been covering for Good Nights, which is sort of like a brand new music show on Triple J. It's like the sort of premiere music show where we
Uh-huh.
just like, yeah, like drop like all these new songs
New
from
songs that
like
have come
artists all
out.
over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like
And
really crazy.
so two questions there. One,
Mm.
are you, I mean, is the whole production of the radio stuff also in isolation now? So you're doing it remotely, or are you going into a studio?
We are going into studio
Yeah.
because they're big enough to be able to like be far away
Hmm.
from each other. Yeah, I just like a lot of Triple J presenters, like especially the specialists, are doing stuff from home. So
Right.
they've like got like a whole mic set up, and I think they like sit in their closets to get that sound
Yeah.
padding
Yep.
and
Yep.
do the show. I actually don't know how they mix it. I'm really intrigued as to how they do that. They must have all just learned how to do it, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe that like I feel like like most, I actually can't say. I don't know, because like a lot of the shows are broadcast from Sydney,
Hmm.
not as many from Melbourne. So I'm not like in the office and I don't see who's there and whatnot. But I have a feeling like the duo shows are in studio potentially,
Yeah,
but I could
that
be
would make
wrong.
sense where you need the
I could be wrong.
chemistry, because it's hard to sort of mimic that. I think
Yeah.
even if you're really good friends and can see each
Mm,
other, it's hard. But we never actually clarified. So you started in Sydney, moved to Melbourne,
that's
and
right.
that's where you're based out of now.
Yes.
And you moved
Yep.
for work.
So yeah, so when the ABC Me job got the all clear, the go, I moved from Sydney in 2016 and moved to Melbourne, and I've been in Melbourne ever since, and now it is 2020. So
Yeah, wow. And the Triple J gig, how did that come about? Because you were obviously working on in TV with ABC.
mm.
What made you think, I need more work? Like, did you pursue that, or did that come sort of knocking as an opportunity? How did that come about?
Oh, I was doing the knocking for sure. Yeah, I've always wanted to be on air with Triple J in some format. And I was doing a lot of work in Sydney for ABC Me, because I was doing a prank show, and like all of the filming was in Sydney, and the main Triple J offices are in Sydney. So I'd
Ah,
always go up, say hi to all the people that I knew from when I worked as a receptionist, and I kept up like all those like friendships in a way. And like, it was really nice just going and saying hi to everyone, see how they're doing. And I knew the sort of manager of Triple J, um, who's there at the time, and like I knew him, and I would just drop in every now and then to say hey and see what's going on with the station and stuff. And then there was like one day where I was just like talking to him. I think I forget how it kind of happened, but on the spot I was kind of just like I'm going to do it. I'm going to pitch this idea of me and my friend Eli. I had been thinking for a while that we would be good as like a duo because we previously worked together on a kids show, like on ABC Me, where it was very like vlog style banter. Like we just got on like really, really well. And we had a great time doing it. And for a while I was like thinking about it. And then he told me, like my friend Eli was like, I'm moving back to Melbourne. And I was like, great. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm going to pitch this idea to this manager and just say like, I have this good friend. We get along really well. I think like we could make like a really good duo in radio. And it's sort of just like, he was just really interested straight away. I like showed him some clips of like us together and like working together in the TV sort of thing. And then told him a bit about him, like, and yeah, he was interested. So then it kind of just like organically grew from there, where he was like, all right, put in a demo. And then we were making demos, which is where you basically just make up a fake show, or you just get an old playlist and you sort of go through and hit record on like the studio and just like do it as if it's a real show. So that was fun. And then we had to really quickly learn how to panel, which was scary.
That's like mixing and like, you know, bringing in songs and sort of, coming out of breaks and stuff like that.
Exactly. So like pushing buttons, hitting promos, hitting songs, turning up the mics when you're talking. It's like, I had some experience doing it, obviously, with like, as I said, with community radio, like, which was really handy. Like, I can't tell you, like, just having a sense of how it worked was just like so good, even though this desk was like way more advanced than the FBI one. The FBI one was like falling apart all the time. Like you had to use CDs. It was terrible. Whereas this one was like a digitized,
completely digital.
System.
In 2016, that's saying a lot. Yes. But everything's more digital and more sort of up to date. But I guess that's what that's the difference between the levels of funding that they receive. And
massively.
you know, I imagine that Triple J is much closer to like a commercial setup than a community radio setup.
Yeah, 100%. It's like really good. Like the studios are really awesome. And so then we learned how to panel really quickly, and then we did a bunch of demos, and then we got offered sort of like a weekend slot over summer. So all the regular presenters. Pardon?
Last year? Was this 2019? Or?
Yes, this was the end of 2019. So around like November last year. And it is currently May now for people listening in the future.
May 2020.
Yes. So November 2019, I came back from doing a bunch of stuff with ABC Me. And then we kind of just went straight into like doing this summer thing. And it was like really intense to learn so much so quickly. And the guy, the manager of us, Ollie, was like, I think he said a bunch of times, like in an email, in person, he was like, I'm expecting like a meteoric rise from you guys, like to be up to get you gaffed up, to be able to go on air like properly, like we're gonna like hustle. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
so this meteoric rise is that the guy who knows what he's talking about is sort of saying he expects you guys to like basically just upskill yourself like unbelievably to be ready for prime time, which would have been scary at the time.
It was, because like we had just been doing mid-dawns where not many people listen, as you can imagine. There's a lot of shift workers, there's people up who are partying. So that's always like really fun and good, because you get to learn the ropes and you don't feel as much pressure. But like, moving from that sort of slot to being like, hey, I really want to give you this like summer weekend thing. It's like every weekend, the whole summer, while the regular presenters are all taking their holidays. I think you guys are going to be great. It's just that like you need flying hours before I feel like, you know, confident. I mean, I feel like he secretly was confident the whole time. But
for
like,
sure. I'm sure there was confidence there, but I guess it's just sort of saying, you know, but things need to sort of just, I mean, radio's on the fly, you know, live, right? It's not, as far as I know, the songs are about the songs and the promos are about the only things that are recorded. Everything else, you've got to sort of make it just happen. And I guess I'm sure he was confident, but you know, he still had to just. It's one of those, you know, like a teacher who knows that you can do it, but just need you to know that you need to work to do it and to get there.
100%.
That's what
That's
he was trying
exactly how it felt. Like, it was like a teacher who believed in us, but was also just like pushing us to be like, this is your opportunity.
This is
Like, go
it.
for gold.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
that was about 7 months ago now.
Yeah.
And so you're still on Triple J while you're doing the ABC
Mm.
Me stuff during the day. Is that sort of how it's working? So you're doing nights and
Yeah.
weekends and then weekdays and days?
Yeah, I'm in this like really fun period of life where I'm like got so much work at the moment. So I do ABC
That's
Me like
sarcasm in her voice for you
I'm like
who can't see her facial expression to really hammer that home. It's a bit of sarcasm.
I'm like grimacing because I'm like, why did I get myself into this position? And I'm like, no, the hustle is good. This is what we need to do. But yeah, like I do ABC Me 4 days a week. And then that's like working during the day. And then on a Thursday, which is my last day with ABC Me, I do that whole day. I finish, have some food, go to sleep and get back up again and then work all night
Oh,
for like 6 hours, 7 hours. And then I go back to sleep and then I have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to recover, but mostly it doesn't take that long to recover. It's fine. But yeah, that's kind of the regular thing at the moment. But as I said, you know, like a lot of presenters have been, I guess, taking some time off and moving around and doing different things. So I'm getting emails and calls like all the time being like, hey, can you fill in on this weekend? Like this day, can
yeah,
you do this show?
nice. Yeah.
Which is really awesome. And then in that case, when that happens, we get a prep day to like on Friday and then we go on air Saturday and Sunday. And then when that does happen, I'm working like
Full
you know
time.
12 days straight and then
Yeah.
I have a break and then I start again. So it's pretty intense, but like at the same time, to give context to everyone, if you're listening in the future, like, you know, a lot of us and a lot of our friends don't have jobs. You know, a lot of my
Mhm.
friends, especially in the music industry, who are like gigs are dried up, you know, retail, hospo, everything. And like, that's the thing about this period. I'm literally like, man, I am so overworked, but also I am #blessed, like
Yeah, so
booked and
fortunate.
blessed, which is
Yeah.
crazy fortunate during this time. So
I
really can't
mean,
complain, you
you
know?
know, because one could say that even at the best of times, the entertainment industry is uncertain at the best of times. And then you add, you know, like you said, all these fallback opportunities that you might be trying in music, trying in entertainment, and the fallbacks, you know, your cafe job, your hospitality job, your retail job, those have dried up as well. And then you're left in a position
Mm.
of, you know, really hoping that you have savings, because otherwise you're sort of in a really rough spot. But I've got a bit of a curveball for you. What do you
Oh,
think? What do you think has created this drive in you? Like, have your parents always sort of been reminding you that you got to work for what you want, or like what sort of, or did something click at some point, or were you like this through school, sort of just saying, I'm just going to put my hand up as much as possible? Where does this come from?
mm. I'm definitely that kind of person. Yeah, at school, I was always like putting my hand up for things, wanting to try really hard. And I think it comes from my mum.
Hmm.
She has always been like low key hard on myself and my brother, but like in a good way.
Mm.
Like, not in a way where I was like resent her at all, but like in a way that's like she's instilled like a really intense like work ethic with me and my older brother. And like, I think like just going through school, like, I think I wasn't very like smart at the start of high school. Like, when I say smart, that sounds really weird, but like
Like book
I
smart, you
didn't
felt like you
yeah, like
weren't.
I wasn't
Yeah.
book smart and I wasn't like the top student, and I moved from like a pretty like small primary school to like a pretty like intense, like very academic competitive high school. And
Hmm.
like, you know, when you like go to school and they like break up the classes into
Yes,
like
into different
tiers.
levels. Yes.
Yeah. So like blue was like really smart and then purple was like y'all dumb.
Yeah.
Like
Like
it's embarrassing. Like you need to study hard. So like I was in purple and that was like low key. I was like, okay, cool. This is funny. I was with my purple mates. So we were always like, hey, we're the dumb ones. But then
yeah.
like, yeah, like going up through school, like I worked like really hard to get good marks. Like it didn't come naturally to me and I had to like study really hard. And I think my mum was a major component in encouraging me to do that and to really like push myself and like have like really good work ethic and like ability to like like not like compartmentalize, but just like manage, I guess. Like a lot of kids message me over my Instagram and stuff asking for advice about all sorts of things like bullying and like school and like learning disabilities and stuff like that. And they're like, how did you like do school? And I'm like, man, it was just, I was so good at like knowing my time and like studying really well and giving myself breaks and like stuff like that.
So you like knew yourself well and how to set things up so that it worked for you versus just sort of going in blind and not. So you sort of, I guess you were very good at probably like talking to yourself and realizing, okay, now I need a break. I need to set it up in such a way that I get the most out of this study sesh where, you know, you're not coming out of the other end really tired and thinking, why did I just do this? Not remembering anything, but, you know, optimizing things that worked so that it worked for you.
Yeah, 100%. That, and also like, I don't tell kids this like over messages, like when I give them advice and stuff, but like probably was like a bit of like a fear of failure kind of vibe as well. And like disappointing my parents. And like, I hold my parents and like, I hold them to like such a high regard. Like I respect them so much. And we have like a really good relationship, which is amazing. Cause like not everyone does have a great relationship with their parents, but like, yeah, like the fear of like not doing my parents proud also was a massive drive. I mean, obviously that was just like during school and like you just, you know, it's like your formative years, you're trying to figure yourself out. And then after school, like that drive and feeling maybe, I guess, like the hunger for success in a way, like the feeling of like, yeah, doing good marks because I worked hard. Okay, cool. Well, I really want to get to this like radio, you know, career. What do I have to do? Okay, I'm going to work for free. Like I'm going to network my ass off. Like I'm going to like meet people, and like all the while it was like really fun. Like this was never like a chore for me. Like I was just like, oh, I'm loving this. This is what I want to do. So yeah, I think that drive and that came from mum, to be honest.
Yeah. And, but I love it because I think a lot of people wish that they could tap into something like that lets them, you know, push this way, because it's very easy to be discouraged, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, like it's very easy to be like, oh, I tried, I failed, I'm just going to go home now, versus like, I tried, I'm going to keep trying and I'm going to keep trying. And then, you know, what part of sort of what you've told us is that there was also like opportunities where you were just like, hey, I'm going to be almost annoying and be like, do you have any opportunities for me? And, you know, like, I know you're busy, but like, is there anything coming up? And I guess we don't need, and you didn't need a license from someone, permission to sort of do that. You just sort of felt like you should go out there and do it. And I love that personally, because like, instead of making excuses, you almost did the opposite. You almost sort of, you know, gave yourself the permission to not make an excuse and just go out there and sort of ask questions and just put your hand up multiple times by the sounds of it, where, you know, it could have been very easy to sort of go, oh, I'm just not cut out for TV, or I'm just not cut out for this kind of thing. Let's talk about some of the mistakes that you've made. Sort of thinking back, I'm sure there's bits and pieces, and it sounds like, you know, you're somewhat hard on yourself. So I'm sure you can come up with all sorts of stuff. But you know what? Let's, like, thinking back, what things do you think were, I mean, not necessarily mistakes, but things that are tips to look out for if you're doing this sort of thing, or if you want to chase a career in a similar field. What comes up? Because I mean, I don't think mistakes probably the wrong word, because it would have been sort of a learning or teachable moment for you. But looking back, you know, what things would you do differently?
Oh my gosh, that's like a really hard question, because I think you're right. Like the word mistake is kind of like pretty heavy. Like I kind of don't think I would change anything because I'm happy with where I'm at now. But at the same time, like there's always room for improvement. So I guess like a teachable moment would be always be like yourself, which sounds really, really lame and sounds like every motivational person ever is just like, be genuine, like be yourself.
And they'll
and it's
love
just
you
like,
if you're just yourself.
Yeah. I think like something you said before actually really resonated with the, like how you were like, oh, maybe it was kind of annoying, like you were annoyingly like asking questions and stuff like that and being in people's faces. But like, yeah, that is actually like one of the most valuable things to do, to be like in that moment, like not getting in people's faces or anything, because that's just rude, but like how do I want to explain this? This is like a hard concept that I'm only just thinking about now.
Well, I guess it's sort of that thing where like you're not owed anything, so they don't owe you a response, and you're not sort of you're not you know annoying them. You're just sort of pushing to get get something for yourself, not get what you want, because that almost sounds a bit bratty, but I guess it's just realizing that when a no's a no and when a no's a maybe, and knowing when to sort of push.
Yeah, I think just don't be afraid to ask questions and don't be afraid to knock on doors. I think that's like one massive takeaway thing. And I think I've never made the mistake of not doing that. I feel like I've done it like enough, and I'm like, well, I could be doing it more for sure. Like, but like, yeah, never be afraid to just be that person, like asking those questions and always putting your hand up for things. Because I found that like people are like attracted to you in that way when you are always up for something and they like that quality in you, like. And that's what I found with my experience, is that people liked that I was like always up for something, like I'm like down to try anything, even if it was to the discomfort of me. And like that, there is a lot of moments like during my career in a sense where I'm like, whoa, this is kind of like a little bit uncomfortable for me to do, like I might be a little bit embarrassed about something,
Like you're out of your
with kids too.
depth, stuff like that, or?
Maybe not so much like out of my depth, but more like an embarrassment vibe, because
Right, like as in I'm portraying myself in this way, but it's sort of like I should almost be like getting slimed, I guess, is takes getting used to. Because
and like getting written into scripts of like, you have to do this, or you have to be out in public and do this in front of strangers, and it's just like there's a moment where you're like, I really like kind of don't want to do that, but then you put that behind you and you are just like, look, this is going to look good on TV, and kids will like this, and you just have to like let that part of you go. And there've definitely been a few times where I've been a little bit like, I'm uncomfortable doing that, and like maybe I could have just been a bit more receptive to the idea of it. I don't know if that's helpful for anyone who's listening,
no,
because that's such
I
a
think,
niche thing.
but I think that comes up in a lot of times. Like, I mean, in almost any profession, there comes an opportunity to be thrown in the ring for like public speaking or like making an announcement. And I'm just thinking back to just all sorts of roles where someone goes, "Oh, Jermaine, can you just say a few words?" like out of nowhere, and I'm like, I don't like public speaking. I'm quite the opposite. Like I'd be hidden in a corner, even in like a public setting. But that's effectively what you're talking about. It's sort of just sort of going, okay, this might be uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it. And then you do it and realize that at the end of the day, no one, and I love saying this, and I don't mean it in like a mean way, but like no one cares about something as much as you do, especially when it comes to yourself. Like
Oh my gosh, yes.
people don't even pay attention in a lot of cases. Like you think that, I walked around with, I don't know, some chocolate on my face. Chances are people didn't even care. Like no one noticed.
I know what you mean. That phrase of like where, when you talk to people about like whether they're like, oh, I care so much about what people think of me. And it's like, trust me, like people are so much more worried about their own projection to other people, that they're really not thinking about what you like, them, what you're being like. They're more worried about what they're being like.
Yeah.
And like, I guess that's exactly what you're saying. Like, you have to, in any career, you have to push past that feeling of like, oh, I'm looking like an idiot right now. And you can't let that overtake you, and you can't let that doubt like make you falter, because people are attracted to the most genuine people and the people who put themselves out there. And if you can have a good time doing it, then hell yeah, like
well, and try and have a good time, right? I mean, your industry, I mean, most industries are of the nature where like if people realize that there are flexible individuals who say yes and put in their best into something that is adjacent, that they're going to ask you. I can think of like almost any industry would have instances like that. Like if you're if you're a waiter and they suddenly ask you to wait for a really grand function and you have not done that before, but if you're the kind of person to put your hand up, guess what? They're going to turn around to you every time they're short on, you know, some staff for a bigger event, or in your case, they turn to you when they're short on staff who present XYZ niche of entertainment, where they turn to other people and go, oh, they're probably going to say no. They've like very much shoeboxed themselves into this one area. We can turn to Pip, and Pip will probably just give it a go at the very least. She'll just say, yep, I'll give it a go, and then just turn up happy, not like turn up like, oh, I can't believe I'm being forced to do this. Just I guess grab it with both hands and then give it all you got. And like
that's it. Like that's the main thing about like what I've learned actually from this industry. And you probably recognize it as well when you see people on TV or in any media where you're like, man, they're not that great. Like they're not that great at their job. But you know why that they're there is because they turn up on time, they have a good positive attitude, and they're easy to work with. Like it kind of doesn't matter if you're bad at it because you'll get good at it.
mm-hmm.
Like the more practice you do, you get good. But if you are the person who is like really reliable and people like to work with you, it's like you're good. Like you could work anywhere you want as long as you're easy to work with.
Yeah.
Especially in TV, because like you can imagine there are some like people who are not as fun to work with
as others. Yeah, like it applies across many industries. Like, you know, reliable, turn up, do what you say you will do when you say you will do it, and you're already, for better or worse, ahead of the curve. You know, there's a few industries where that applies. I don't want to name them because I think I'll offend people from those industries, but there's some industries where you just got to turn up.
I'll name them.
Let me at them. So, I mean, does anything else come up? Like thinking back that, you know, to be honest, it just sounds like you just put your hand up so many times and you just probably even a little bit like me. Like I don't necessarily think back and go, those were mistakes, and I don't register them as mistakes. I register them as almost like changes in trajectory where I sort of learned something and went, okay, next time around, I'm not going to do that.
You know, I think that the reason why I'm finding this question hard to answer is because I think I'm actually in a stage at the moment in my career where I am going through a period of like change and like learning. So I think like when you're like, look back and look back in how you've been doing stuff, like I'm kind of like, yeah, I was really like stoked with everything that's been happening. Like I feel so good about that. But like right now, actually, I feel like I've been in a position where I'm like learning so much. I have to like think on my feet all the time, and I'm going through quite like a big change of like path in a sense, and like taking on more responsibility. So maybe that's why I'm kind of like struggling to answer this. But I think something that actually did just come to me again, which is quite specific to what I do. I've had to unlearn a few things going from kids TV to radio. I don't think we established before, but Triple J is a youth station, but that youth is 18 to 24.
So
but there
different
are people
demographic
who listen
to your day job, your night job. Like you suddenly have to almost, I assume, also shift your personality a little bit. Like you talked about exaggerating your personality on ABC Me, and I mean, entertainment is about exaggerating personalities because that's what makes you unique. But you're now talking about shifting also your mindset of talking to, you know, under 14-year-olds to talking to over 18-year-olds.
18 to 20-year-olds, yeah, literally. And like people who listen who have been like OG fans of Triple J since like 1975. So it is like a really strange transition for me to like pull that kind of mental muscle of like being like, okay, I can actually talk about like things that are relevant to my age. I'm not restricted by a lot of red tape. Like, as you can imagine with kids TV, like we are like ABC is like gold star standard of like how kids should be talked to and treated. And we're so good at that. And like, I feel like there's something in my job with like kids TV that I'm always really proud of, is that I'm like, I feel like I can always talk to my audience as if they're not kids. Like we never, like I never even refer to them as kids unless I'm in like an external sort of like
Yeah.
what we're talking like now, because I'm literally like, no, they're just like, we're mates, like, then they see me
Yes.
as like a mate, they see me as like an older sister or like a cousin or something.
But you're
And like,
communicating like peers rather than like a
yeah,
teacher or a parent, or
totally.
from this position of authority where you're sort of going, your problems are small problems, and that sort of
Yeah.
classic thing about where, you know, I mean, I remember looking into like I think it's 13 Reasons Why on Netflix, and a number of Netflix shows, why they were successful was because they were able to communicate and portray the problems with the gravitas of what it feels like at that age. And I guess that's what you're communicating here, is that you can sort of go to talk at that level versus talking down to that level.
You're just basically on their same level. There's literally no talking down at all. And the problem with that is like, there's no problem with it. Sorry. There's just more like, the problem that I'm finding is that I have to unlearn some things, in that I can be like my 26-year-old kind of self rather than my like 16-year-old self
At
in a way.
max. Yeah, because you got to shift your mindset.
Yeah. And
And
like,
even like subjects and topics, I assume, get affected.
yeah, totally. Like I'm definitely like spoke to, you know, my managers and stuff at ABC Me, and I was just like, there are going to be times where I'm going to talk about things that are adult, and that's just going to have to be okay. And they were like, yeah, like it is, like there's nothing we can do. And you're a personality, you're kind of at this point where you are a personality rather than just like a TV host with us. Like you're not just our face of our channel, but you're also like branching out into this new thing. So yeah, it's been really tricky and interesting to have to mold this new thing. And I find myself like in studio, I'm like, I sometimes have doubts about, I'm like, wait, should we talk about that? Like editorially, is that okay? And then I'm like, dude, shut up. Like it's fine. And I think I've just thought of a new mantra that I actually have been trying to follow a lot lately, which is, what is it? It is, ask for forgiveness, not for permission. And I think I want to do that more with radio, especially because it's live. It is what it is. Like once it's out there, it is out, it's gone, and that's it. And like that's something that's actually been a real learning curve as well. Learning how to deal with like constant liveness, which sounds really weird, but for someone who's mostly studio based and doesn't like, I mean, to be fair, I did do a weekly live show with ABC Me for ages before all this COVID stuff happened. And that was a great experience. That was great. But yeah, with doing the radio live thing, like you can't really check, like of course you have to check yourself, because you never want to say, you don't want to defame anybody or anything like that. But like there's such a huge difference of editorial policy between my kids TV work and this. It's just it's just challenge.
Different level of oversight, different level of like checking yourself, but then you've got to sort of do that somewhat sleep deprived, somewhat stressed.
Oh my gosh.
And then just shift and check yourself.
And you're literally like operating what feels like a rocket ship at times, and you're like, okay, cool, well, we're chiming in, like it's so much. And like it's something that someone taught me like while doing this radio thing, and I'm learning like all the time, like every day, is like, it doesn't matter like whether you do a good break or a bad break, as in like a talk break, like it doesn't matter. You actually have to just move on. You can't even like celebrate it, even if you were like, wow, it was so good. But it's like, well, you've got a song to load, you've got a promo to go, and you need to like forward think this next break, and like there's no time, which is like really interesting. And like even if you have a bad one, you have to just be like, water off duck's back, like let's go, we've just got another break coming.
Exactly. I've got 3 minutes 30 seconds to recoup. Like once this song's about to finish, I am back on. I can't be sad about the last 3 minutes ago when I stuffed it up.
And you'll get text messages of people being like, oh dickhead, you stuffed that up. And then you're like, I know, but I've got a lot going on right now. So yeah, it's hard.
That's awesome though. You just got to sort of roll with the punches. Let's talk about what you want to do moving forward. What are your sort of, so what's the plan? What do you, I mean, let's talk about 10 years down the line. What's Pip going to be doing? And then we'll talk about more.
10 years. I mean, that's too far. Can we do 5?
Yeah, let's do 5.
Because I'm like a one step at a time kind of person. I like my life is so like dictated by what work I get in a way. Like the fact that I moved to Melbourne, I'm like, people are like, oh, you're going to stay here? And I'm like, well, I would like to, but if something happens where a job comes up in Sydney, like I will go. Like, so I'm always like sort of going with the
you got to be
flow and the
flexible.
motion. Yes. Got to be flexible. And that's, you don't have like, you know, in this entertainment industry, you just don't have the, what's the word, privilege, I guess, to like,
you can't really call the shots almost. You just got to sort of just go with it. I guess, I mean, eventually after like a long time in the industry, I'm sure you'll get to a position where you can call the shots. But in the meantime, there's just so many people, so many moving parts that like you're just a small, you know, even if you're, you know, the sole presenter of a show, there's so many more people involved in the back end that ultimately, you know, you're just a small cog in sort of that machine of that production, isn't it?
Exactly. And man, it feels good to be a small cog. Let me tell you, it's the best. Like I'm living the dream, even though I was like low key complaining about working a lot, but nah, it's good.
How awesome is it? Like, I mean, you know,
it's the best.
I'm in a different position, but having my own business is the same thing. Like there's no, you know, you work, you get to work at 8 o'clock, you work till 5:36, and then you go home, you have some dinner, and then you're working for a few more hours. If that's what you got to do, it's just what you got to do. And like, you know, a weekend is just, to me at least, a weekend is a time period where my partner's home and everyone else has the day off from work. It's nothing more than that. It's not, you know, a break, for example, similar to you. It's just another opportunity to work. It's just sort of what you got to deal with. But moving forward, let's touch on that. What are you sort of looking at?
Well, I really love kids TV, and I still really want to do it for however long they'll have me, I think. It's sort of funny because like you do get to a point where you're like, have I learnt everything? And then I'm like, no, like I'm learning all the time. I'm getting challenged with like new projects. So I'm really happy to keep doing that. But I do want to like edge more into radio, whatever that may be.
Why is that? As you said, like, what's the reason?
I don't know. Like I've always just like, I mean, like Triple J is like a dream job for me. Like you could ask anyone who knew me in high school. Like I used to wear like Triple J merch. Like I would just like be on top of their playlists. Like I was obsessed. Like it was like my dream thing to do. And like, I think I've just kind of held on to that and been like, I think I've been working up to this moment for a really long time. And whether or not I'm presenting or if I'm doing, as you said, like a back end thing, like that would be amazing. And it's just such a cool organization. And I feel like it just makes sense as like a next step to go from like young audience to like kind of my age audience. Like to me, I'm like, that's where I want to be. Like I want to, like, it's so refreshing to be able to talk about topics that I can't talk about on television. Like it's like the first time I got to talk
almost, right?
On
like a different level.
And like personal things that I could not tell like my audience, because I'm like, that's not relevant to them or it's not appropriate. Like it's just so nice to be able to like talk about that. And like, I like feel like it's like an untapped part of me that I haven't been able to really explore. Like when I get this question all the time, like on several different shows where they're like, what's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you? And I'm like, guys, like, you know my life. Like, I have nothing else to give. Like, I've got nothing. Whereas with Triple J, I'm like, oh, I have so much, like, I can give here. And, like
personal experiences and stuff that you can't necessarily talk to.
Exactly. And even just, like, commenting on, like, news and stuff that's going on in the world. Like, that's something that I found, like, so fun and refreshing. And, like, I really enjoy, like, sitting down and going, what's a quirky news story? How do we make a talk back out of it? Like what kind of like, what do we expect people to react like? I just love that kind of process and I love doing that. So I want to do that more. So I think, to answer your question in short, fulfilling my destiny,
which is Triple J.
Which is so ridiculous. It sounds like a game, like the chosen one. No. But like, you know, like achieving that dream that I've always had in my back of my head in some sort of way, but also, expressing a part of myself that I feel like I'm ready to engage with and find people who are like-minded like me and have like this new experience. And I just love radio. Like I actually love radio. Like I've listened to so much like radio my whole life, whether it was like commercial stations or like podcasts and stuff like that. Even like growing up in my family, like everyone's really musical and very like radio orientated. I did mention at the start of this that my dad worked at ABC, and like I've grown up in that environment of just really like loving listening to radio and really loving the format. So yeah, and it's sort of, maybe you'll like have an opinion on this. Like, I think radio is kind of not going to go anywhere anytime soon. I have a feeling. Everyone's a bit like, oh, TV, it's all streaming and Netflix and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel like it's such a strong format and it's such a lovable thing. And Triple J has just done such a good job of like getting this reputation as, like, you see their banners at a festival and you're like, you associate that with a good time. You're like, oh yeah, red drum, that means a good artist is here. And like, that means like they've got good competitions going, or like they understand like our youth issues, and like that's what I'm just like so into. So yeah.
I mean, the way I see Triple J in Australia for sort of, I guess, international viewers and listeners is that it's just this thing that taps into, you know, the 20 somethings and even like the 30 somethings, and it's just something that it's almost like a mate who talks about that stuff, who's like really real, where you don't necessarily get that from other entertainment sources that have to think about, you know, their sponsors and their commercial partners and being PC and you know, looking at their political influences. And Triple J doesn't have any of that, because, you know, the way they're set up is that the government has to fund them no matter what. There's no political alliances. In fact, Triple J and ABC's role is almost to just say what everyone's thinking and bring out as many voices as possible, and that just makes it very relatable. And then you being on there, or the opportunities for you to be on there and just sort of be more of you without levels of censorship that you've sort of had to experience, because it's just the nature. I mean, you know, everything has to be controlled, but I guess the parameters are a bit more widespread when you move into Triple J, which is really exciting. I'm sort of almost jealous on my end, because it also gives you that platform, right? Like, it gives that opportunity to talk to people, and it just seems really fun.
It's so fun. Like, it's the best. Like, you literally, like, you get to talk to people, you get to engage with them, you get to bring them songs that like make them feel some type of way, whether it's sad or happy or anything. And you feel like you're making a meaningful connection when you get that nice text when someone was like, man, you just started my day off so right with this Duke Dumont song. And you're just like, yeah, I did. Like, we did that.
Yeah.
We programmed that. We put that in there. And now you're going to have a good day.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel really good.
And music is just, you know, such a thing that across cultures, across countries, it's just, you know, everyone loves music. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't like, the genres change, the lyrics change, the type of music changes, but music is just that common thread. And as far as I know, Triple J sort of, you know, isn't genre specific anyway, is it? Like, you guys sort of, there's no thing about these are the only genres you can play or anything like that.
No, like, there's no limit on genres. There's definitely like a sort of a Triple J sound that they've procured for sure. Like, you wouldn't hear Lady Gaga on Triple J, but you might hear a Kate Renata remix of a Lady Gaga song, like, who is like an alternative kind of artist, like, and that's cool as well. Like, and that taps into a whole different kettle of fish, I guess, with culture and cross-pollination and stuff like that. But yeah, there's no limit to that. And yeah, I think people connect with it on a personal level as well as, like the musical level, where they're just people who really, really love music. But then there are also people who are just like regular Aussies who are just love going to festivals, and they love like going to raves and stuff like that. And it's like, you get like a really wide array of people. And then you get like the OGs, as I was saying, like people who like text in being like, I've been listening since 1975. Like, and I'm just like, damn, that's so cool.
Crazy.
Like, you didn't want to do Double J? That's fine. Stay here. Like, by the way, Double J is like the oldest sister kind of radio station. It's like the cool uncle / aunt of Triple J.
Where can people find out more about you, or, you know, get in touch with you? What's a good way if anyone sort of, you know, has any questions, after some tips, after some advice? How can they reach out?
I reckon like Instagram and Twitter, just hit me up there. My username is @Pip Rasmussen, which is PIP Rasmussen. Yeah, I know it's a mouthful of a last name, but I feel like it makes me kind of stand out from the pack.
Yeah, it's unique. And that's the same on Twitter as well.
Yes, same
Awesome.
as on
We'll
Twitter
link all
as
that in the
well.
description anyway.
Perfect.
Okay, you ready for the top 12?
I'm nervous, but I'm ready.
Good. Nervous is good. Let's get some responses going. So top 3 books or podcasts that you recommend.
Okay, well, I'm a terrible person and I'm not a huge book person. I do like so much reading online, like of articles and stuff like that, but I haven't picked up a book in ages.
But in terms of articles, are there websites that you sort of tend to go to for news or for opinion?
That is a good question. I feel like I do get a lot of my news while at work at ABC, like a lot of ABC articles, Guardian, Triple J Hack, who's like the sort of news program of Triple J. I occasionally read like a Vice article, but mostly they're pretty garbage.
Clickbaity
I
stuff.
do like the conspiracy ones, like about aliens and stuff like that. I like that kind of thing. That's fun.
Is that for fun or for factual information?
Oh, for fun. It's entertainment for me, for sure.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, podcasts though. I did used to listen to heaps of podcasts. I haven't really listened to any lately, but I did really love this one that came out last year with ABC called Unraveled True Crime, and the season was called Snowball. And I listened to it because the guy who hired me to do Triple J, he went away for like a whole year and made this whole podcast. And I was like, better listen to that because the old boss that's his thing.
Yeah.
But I listened to it. I'm kidding, Ollie, if you're listening. I'm joking. I listened to it because it was really interesting because he sold it so well. He was literally like, my brother married a con artist and scammed him out of millions of dollars, and I go on the journey to find out like where she is, why she did it, and all this stuff. And it's just like this insane story of this woman who like really takes his whole family for a complete ride, and it's crazy. So that was really
I'm listening to that, just putting it out there on my drive home because I've been looking for something interesting and I've been getting into true crime podcasts and didn't know that existed. Cool. That's one.
Done. So yeah, definitely listen to that. And also he's New Zealand, so it's really nice hearing like New Zealand voices. I personally love the accent, so that's refreshing. Also Triple J music programmer Gemma Pike, I believe, did the Big Day Out podcast. If you're into Aussie music festivals and wondering why the Big Day Out like ended and how that all like went about, because it was such an iconic, huge festival, and like often on air, like I'll be like, I remember seeing them at like the last Big Day Out, and it's like,
it's referenced so much.
Yeah, totally. And then back in the day, I used to listen to Love and Radio, which is like Love Plus Radio. And also I really like Radio Lab because they do like a really good sort of sciencey vibe, but it's not sciencey in that like you don't feel like you're wearing a lab coat while listening. It's really like loose science kind of thing. So that's my recommendation for podcasts.
Okay, awesome. How about top 3 software or tools that you can't live without?
Okay. Don't hate me, but TikTok is life. I'm not a creator of TikToks. I'm more of a consumer, and like some of the memes and the formats and the creativity that comes out of that app is like astounding. And I'm like, it would be dumb for me to not look at this because it's so relevant to my audience, and like the way that people are creating videos is really creative too. So that I could not live without. Low-key, probably Instagram as well. Like I really like social media. Like I actually really like it. It's trash, but it's so fun.
Well, but is it also a way for you to, look at what other people are creating, and then, that sort of imitation, how artists always take imitation and inspiration from stuff. Is there an element of that where you sort of, I find myself, going through as like someone who loves photography, someone who likes just creating stuff. I find myself scrolling through just to look at what people come up with, to see how that sort of moves stuff around in my head and affects what I do next.
Yeah, totally. I definitely use that like as a tool of inspiration. Like there are so many people I follow, which I feel like we'll talk about in a second, who are just the best, like photographers, like concept artists, like stuff like that, fashion people. And like I don't really like the term like influencer because like I don't really like influencers, but there are like influencers that I actually really like and who I feel are contributing to society in a good way, and not in a way
Yes.
that's like, hey, drop my name and get 10% off.
Yeah,
Like, you know
that
what I
sort of new
mean?
money, just making a bunch of money because we've
Yeah.
got a bunch of followers sort of vibe.
Yeah.
How do you keep track of everything that you do? Do you use like a calendar app or something, or what, like how do you know, okay, tonight I'm on
Oh.
radio, today I'm on, or are you just really good at sort of remembering?
I definitely just use like the inbuilt kind of stuff for that. I'm not one of those people that's very like organized and has like a strategy. I'm just
Mhm.
like, yep, use that inbuilt calendar, put a timer on if I need, like, I don't even know how to use like the the Apple function of like a reminder. Like, I don't
Oh,
even know how
yeah,
to do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I put like an alarm and like I'm like 6 o'clock, remember
Right.
to pay that bill. Like, I'm not good at that. Like, I'm more about like the creative side of things on my phone. I apologize for anyone who was hoping to get like a really cool like calendar app or
App, yeah.
something. I don't have it. I'm
That's
not your
cool, that's
girl.
cool. Anything else that you wanted to mention with software and tools that you can't live without?
Let me think. I really like editing apps lately. I have this one called PixArt, which is really fun, and like, it's just like I spend a few hours, like not a few hours, probably like an hour, like having fun and editing photos because I really enjoy seeing something a bit different on the old Instagram feed. I don't know. Like lately, I've just been doing it heaps, and I'm like, I don't know if people are vibing this. I'm having fun putting like glitter in the background for no
Right.
reason. I just think it like does really make you sort of stand out from the pack when you are scrolling and you see like someone's done a cool edit. I'm like, when
Mhm.
I see that, I'm like, wow, they took a lot of time. I
There
wonder
was
how they
effort.
did that. Like, and that was effort. And so I'm like, they want me to see this. So I'm sort
Yeah.
of like, I'm going to do that, but I also really enjoy doing it. So yeah.
And I see, this is one thing that I've found is that a lot of people don't, it's not that you have to respect it, but people who put effort into something like that, it's not always just vanity that they're putting, that the reason behind
Yeah.
putting effort into it. Sometimes just creating something new. It's not just about looking better, slimming you down, or getting rid of blemishes on your face. Sometimes it's about creating something that is art, that just happens to go and be published through social media.
Mm,
You don't have to just cut everything down just because it's on social media, right?
100%. And like, yeah, I don't see it as like a vanity thing for myself because I'm not really face tuning where like I'm not
Yeah.
like moving my body parts around. I'm just like, I really want a cool background. I really want to like put a stripe in this. And like, I don't know. Like, and I see other people doing it and I get really inspired by that. And I'm like, I want to copy that. Like,
Yeah.
it's never me being original, being like, I thought of this. Like,
Yeah,
no, I saw
starting a
someone else
trend.
do that. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm going to do
I'm gonna do
it,
it.
but I'm going to do
Hey,
it better.
that's awesome though. Moving on. Top three
Mm,
mantras you try and live by. Anything come to
yes.
mind?
Okay, so the first one, which we already mentioned,
Yes.
ask for forgiveness, not for permission.
That's not a
Because
license to just do stupid things though.
no, yeah, just to like clarify, don't be an idiot and don't put yourself in danger and everyone else in danger. But like, yeah, like sometimes in a work environment, the best thing to do is just go for it. And if your boss or whatever doesn't like it or doesn't agree with it, then you just cross that bridge when it comes to it. Like,
Hmm.
I just think like, especially in my industries, I guess I kind of feel like there's a lot of tiptoeing sometimes, and you do have to be careful about what you put out there because you are broadcasting to children, so you need to like make sure everything's above board and everything's good. But like, there are just times where I'm like, man, this is too uptight, like this is ridiculous, this is, like, we're sucking the fun out of this.
Hmm.
Let's just do this idea, and if they have a problem with it, fix it in post. And
Yeah.
like, that's not going to apply to every other career path, but yeah, I definitely think sometimes you just need to take a risk. And like, if you think that, if you calculate that you can recover from the risk if it doesn't go well, then great, like go for it. Like, don't do anything ridiculous, but like, yeah,
Yes.
put yourself out there. Like, if you've got this crazy idea, just like go for it, and if it doesn't work out, at least you tried.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's one of them. Let me look at my little notes because I have to write this down. Yeah, say yes to things. I was a massive yes man growing up, as we have established. So like that movie with Jim Carrey, actually, I really
Hmm.
related to that movie. That was a
Hmm.
good movie. But yeah, like saying yes to everything, and just, yeah, whatever it is, just
Push
say
your
yes
hand
to
up.
it. That's
Yeah.
it's putting your hand up and putting yourself out there. Because as we said before, people notice that, people like that, they like that go-getter attitude, and they'll use you again for future opportunities. And even if it's a step to the side of what you want to do,
Hmm.
do it
That's
anyway.
fine.
Life's
Yeah.
short.
And
Just
it's
keep
just
going.
more experiences. It doesn't have to be necessarily a step up. It can be multiple steps sideways that opens up an opportunity for a step up anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm sure
love it.
all of us, like a lot of people have done the career move where they're like, this was really a step sideways for me. But, you know, hopefully you can look back and be like, it was worth it in the end. But my other like mantra sort of thing is a lot of kids like message me on Instagram asking for advice, and they always like want to know how to get into TV and how to act and how to do all that kind of entertainment stuff, because every young person wants to be famous now, because it's like if
It's
you're
a
a YouTuber,
thing.
you can live off that now, which is crazy. And like I just say to people, like, you know, whatever you really are passionate about, like whatever you really enjoy, it could be like making model trains or like making clothes or writing about the news in your local community. Like it doesn't matter what you're really passionate about, or if you have a really like amazing hobby and you're so good at it, like you can make a career out of it. Like you just have to work hard enough, and like you just have to build some skills around it to like advertise yourself in the way that it, like people are like finding appealing and stuff like that.
And palatable, yeah.
Yeah, and palatable. So yeah, like if you have some like hobby or something that you're really passionate about, you can make that your career. You don't have to be an accountant, or you don't have to, but maybe you're passionate about that. Like
Yeah,
no
and
shame
that's
to
fine.
accountants.
Exactly. It's fine to do that, but I guess what you're trying to communicate is that if there's something you want to do and you want to do it bad enough, you just got to look at how you can make those mechanics work with the realities of life. In that, you know, you can't do something that won't pay the bills, for example. And, you know, that's an easy way to sort of cop out of that, is to sort of say, well, there's no opportunity to earn money out of that, and, you know, therefore actually pursue it. So I'm going to step back. But in reality, put your hand up maybe 100 times, and you maybe get picked once. Like it's sort of that. I mean, I think that almost blends in a bunch of your mantras, so to put it, in that you just got to keep putting your hand up, and you'll find ways of making what you want to do work when it comes to the realities of life.
Yeah, you said it better than myself, to be honest. Like you hit the nail on the head with the whole like, oh, I'm not going to be able to make money from it. It's like, but you can. Like, trust me, you can. Like,
if
become a
people can film
personality.
themselves,
like,
exactly. If people can film themselves on, you know, their phone and now make millions of dollars, and, you know, I'm oversimplifying it, but I guess it's just me trying to communicate that there are parts to, you know, making that work with the realities of life and needing an income to keep the lights on. You just got to keep trying and experimenting and putting your hand up and so on and so forth. Love it.
And more than ever, like people are getting these careers up from literally being nothing and really struggling from like nowhere. Like, for example, there's this girl that we're playing with project at the moment. Her name's Mia Rodriguez. She's a TikTok star originally, from just lip syncing and having fun and making stupid videos. She got really popular. She got really famous. And then she was like, right, time to do my music career. And now she's putting out like really dope songs. Like another person is like this other like rapper guy from Redfern. He's really young. He's like 15 or 16 now. He's called like the Kid Leroy, and he's just moved to LA and bought his mum at like $1 million house. Like,
yeah, right.
You know,
wow.
Like he came from like nothing and now he's like killing it. So it's just like, you can do it. Like the power of the internet is just so unfathomable. TV presenter here. Oh my goodness.
It's Friday afternoon.
Unfathomable. Whoa, can you say that? I can't say
Unfathomable.
that. Thank you. I could see it in my head and I just couldn't get it out.
Can't get it right. That's all right. You're probably going on like 5 hours sleep anyway.
Yeah, basically. Maybe let's say 3 actually.
Yeah.
Well, you can fix that in post. It's fine, right?
Yeah, Hayden, edit this out.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, maybe increase the pitch in my voice and it'll sound like Pip said it. Who knows?
Amazing.
It sounds like we've actually transitioned into the last question, which is the people you follow. So you talked about Mia Rodriguez and Kid Leroy, who I've heard about, not listened to his music yet, but people you follow and why you follow them.
Yeah, so I follow a lot of creative people, and like I said, some of them are influencers, but they're not like the annoying kind of influencers where they're pushing a product all the time. They're just genuinely like people who have like a hand at like what I'm interested in, like music, TV, whatnot, and they do other stuff on the side. And the first person who came to mind was Flex Mami, who is this sort of, what she describes herself as like a slashy, which is like, you know, DJ / radio host / TV presenter / author / creator of like things. Like she's just all out there, and she's just such a force to be reckoned with. And like, I just really admire the way that she has made a career out of everything. Like she loves like doing craft projects, and like just like taught herself how to do like Photoshop and like graphic design. And then she was like, hey guys, I made a puzzle out of my graphic design, here, buy it on my shop. Like, and like her sort of like DJing thing is so cool. She like is really into fashion. Like the clothes that she wears, like I would never wear, but I can stand back and just be like, oh wow, like she really thought that through. What a cool piece. Like she really loves she really loves like, you know, like local designers, or just like actual designers, rather than just like, you know, big companies that are just putting out clothes. Yeah, exactly. And I really admire that. And I just think she's like really cool and funny, and like her ethics and like her morals and stuff are like really on point. Like she's always like really pushing the envelope as to what an influencer is and how they should treat their followers. Like you just got to go on her Instagram page and just follow her for a bit, and she'll like pose questions and ask and like make discussion. And it's really like engaging and meaningful. And it's not just like trite stuff. Like it's like pretty deep stuff. And I really like enjoy being sort of like intellectually challenged in that way. So yeah, she's really cool. Flex Mommy. I'll give you all these names so you can write them below. Someone else I really like, I had to just quickly Google her actual name, but I know her as like GGMCG, which stands for Juliana Giannini McGoran. I've actually never said her like name out loud, because you just see her Instagram handle and it's so small. It's just like GGMCG. And like she's a like photographer, and like does these really awesome like conceptual shoots with like these like amazing Australian bands. And I just kept seeing her work pop up, and I was like, all these artists get like these press shots that they're doing are like really good. Like who's doing them? And then I found her. Now. Yeah. So it's like G.G.MCG. And it's just like, she just kills it on the gram. Like it's just awesome to look at her stuff, because they're really colorful and bright, and like she dresses them really well. Wow. And she's got a really cool style. Like you just go through her page and you're like, oh damn, like she's nailed her like, you know, perception. She's got a very
and she's got concept. A very aesthetic as a she's got that very defined aesthetic as a creator, and not in a way that gets old. It's almost like there's just multiple permutations of this same aesthetic that you can tell there's a commonality, but they're also different, and they're so vibrant. Definitely gonna link to her. That is a solid find. I'm hitting follow right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, she's really great. And who else do I follow? I'd say this is like a trashy one, which is just for fun. On Twitter, I follow like a lot of like music and radio people, but there's this sort of weird side of Twitter that I like, where it's just fun to wake up and read these dumb excerpts from like Reddit, and it's like this relationship advice thing, where they just like screenshot like, you know, this is what's happening in my relationship, I need help. And like there's also this other one that's like, am I the asshole? And like you decide whether this person is kind of a jerk or not. And like I just enjoy reading them. They're literally just like screenshots, and then they post it, and then just people go off. Like it's just fun to read and to sort of get like a moral compass of what people think, because like sometimes I'm like, nah, they're fine, and then everyone's like, they're terrible, break up with them, and I'm like, oh no, what's wrong with me?
Am I a bad person? Like, you know, I can't believe that.
So that's like totally just entertainment. Like the other two, I'm like, yeah, I'll back that. Like you go out and follow these people because like they deserve your follow. Whereas this Twitter thing, I'm like, if you just feel like this,
having a bit of fun,
just for fun, like it's a bit of fun. I've always really liked like advice, like columns and panels and stuff like that. I've always like really enjoyed reading them for some reason. Maybe because it's like such a nice escape from my life, and I'm like, whoa, this problem, they're going through it. They're really suffering. Whereas I'm gonna go make a nice like breakfast and have my day. So I don't know. It's nice. It's funny.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Thanks heaps for joining, and I've had a lot of fun just sort of talking through the journey. And I think, if I was to meet you when you were in high school, not that I don't, believe in you, so to speak, but I would have sort of thought entertainment industry, make a career out of it. Good luck. Just what's your backup? Make sure you've got a backup. But look at you, like you've just, I mean, you're making it the way I see it and sort of pushing through. And it's been awesome to just listen to that story and, listen to what you've had to do to put yourself into that position. And I think, I mean, I'm lost for words. It's been awesome.
Oh man, thank you so much. Like, I really appreciate that. And like, I wouldn't have thought, if you told me in high school, like where I'm at now, I would have been like, nah, probably not, probably doing something else. But like, that's it. Like, you just got to go all in and hope for the best. And but thank you so much for having me. This has been like a really weirdly enlightening chat. I was kind of thought like I knew what was going to happen, and then you threw those curveballs and I was like, oh wow, I'm in like this learning phase of my life. Like, I was having realizations while we were talking.
That's good.
Like, wow, I'm feeling this type of way.
Yeah. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, thank you for having me. And hopefully like something I said was useful to people. Like, I don't know. It's
I'm
like
sure,
specific.
like at the very least, it, for anyone out there thinking about joining the entertainment industry, it shows you sort of what you've got to do to get somewhere with it. I mean, most industries sort of this applies to, but I just loved hearing from someone who's actually gone through it and still going through it, and
100%.
working out what you do next in terms of your career trajectory and all that.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Pip.
Well, stay tuned, because like
time.
my learning, like there's still like so much to go. Like, I'm by no means an expert like at anything. I'm still like figuring it out as I go. But yeah, if you ever want advice, like just hit me up on Instagram and we can chat. But
Awesome.
yeah, thanks for having me.
Loved it. And as usual, all links to Pip's contacts on Twitter, on Instagram, will be in the description below. Oh, I'm messing up my words as well. It's a Friday afternoon.
It's like almost 5. Like,
there you
it's
go.
knock off time.
Got to knock off. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jermaine. See ya.